everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Conversationist with Tosin Ikuyinminu. I'm so happy today, I just know that a lot of us are going to be learning some new powerful principles that will help us in our day-to-day conversational lifestyle. So I'd like us to pay attention, listen, and open your minds and your heart to learn what I'm about to dish out on today's episode of the Conversationist. So today we're going to be looking at a very interesting topic, which I called, why people ignore you in conversations. Why people ignore you in conversation. It's a very important topic, and I believe, I'm going to be dishing out some things I've identified that makes people lose conversations most of the times in networking sessions. Sometimes when you have a one-on-one approach with someone, and the end of the day you start talking and you get to a certain point when the person feels bored, the person feels not interested, and the next thing they leave your conversation. So there are certain reasons why this happens. So I'm going to be identifying some of the major reasons why this happens and how you can avoid them. So first, we're going to be looking at lack of enthusiasm. Lack of enthusiasm. Now, it's very important. Enthusiasm is simply showing excitement, showing fun. People want excitement. Conversation should we understand the fact that conversation should not always be about the excitement form, but you must try as much as possible to put some level of enthusiasm while you talk, because I always say this, that a conversation is intuitive, so people want to relate with you from the emotional level. If the conversation is about logic, people get bored, so you need to balance it. So your conversation can be very logical, at the same time you may learn to balance it by also being intuitive. All right, so you must show excitement. It's very important. Now let me give you a typical example to this. Imagine someone walks up to you and say, oh, hello, Mr. Tosin. Yes, my name is Joy. I've been following you on social media, and I see a lot of the works that you do. I've been following your video series. I've been following some of your articles. You're really doing great, sir. I like what you're doing. I think in next project my company is going to be working on, we'd like to involve you to our project. So we'll see how you can, be of great impact on what we are doing. I really love it. The nice meeting you again, sir. I look forward to do good stuff with you. That's excitement. It's not really about shouting or making a but that's excitement. So when you talk to someone in such manner, they want to give you attention. They want to connect with you. Why? Because of enthusiasm is there. So you must show excitement. You understand? So it's very important. Like during my days in school, when I was doing my project defense, one of the powerful things I did was, the moment I was called upon, the first thing I did was to smile, and the panelists had no choice but to listen to me. So enthusiasm is very important, because I started with excitement, and people have no choice but to just listen to you. So one of the ways to gain power in conversation is showing enthusiasm. All right, so my next point is listening gap. Now this is very important. A lot of us might have engaged in conversations where you're talking to the person, you discover the person is distracted, maybe listening to something else or watching something else, or someone is doing something else and his or her mind is not with you in that conversation. Immediately you feel like to cut off. You understand? I've had that experience with a friend. I was talking to her and we were talking, and the next few seconds my mind was on something else, and she had to tap me like, hello Tosin, I'm talking to you, and I'm sorry, and immediately she felt, no worry, don't worry, we can't continue this conversation, let's talk some other time. You understand? You see, I've lost that conversation. Why? Because of there was a listening gap. So you must try as much as possible to always give 100% attention to every conversation, because I always say this, that conversation goes in circles. It goes in circles. Someone talks, the other person understand and give feedback, and that feedback, he or she talks, and it goes back again, understand and gives feedback, the other person talks, so it goes in cycles. It goes like that until the conversation goes smooth. So the moment there's a listening gap, the moment one person just stops or is not really paying attention to that conversation in time, there's misconception. So most of the time you tend to feel like, okay, I don't think we can continue this conversation. So one of the ways to avoid such is giving 100% attention and listen to the person, because that's what makes the conversation flow, right? So you don't want people to snub you. Try and always be attentive. Give your 100% to that, right? So my next point is limited message connection bridge. Now, this might be a little bit technical, but I'll try as much as possible to explain in detail so you understand. Limited message connection, there's a way conversation goes. Conversation goes in sequence. It goes what? It goes in sequence. So you must learn to follow sequence while you are talking. I cannot be talking to you about A and the next thing you now jump into B. You understand? You've lost sequence. Now let me give a typical example. There was a day I and some of my friends were talking about inventions in Nigeria that the youths are not really bringing out innovative stuffs that would bring about inventions in this country and Africa at large. And one of our friends just came, and the next thing he said, oh guy, how far with that Man U Chelsea match? And within the next few seconds, we all kept quiet. Do you know what we all did? We all left that spot immediately for the guy. That's an example of a way he has lost that conversation. So, the conversation was going on A, B, C sequence, and he just jump and give us X, Y, Z. You understand? So you must learn to follow conversational sequence. So now, what is the better approach for him? So assuming we were talking about inventions, and he now walked up and said, oh, hey, hello, what's up guys? What are you guys discussing? And we tell him, oh, you hear things like, okay, we're talking about inventions in Nigeria, and he now comes in to say, oh, that's true. There's no innovation coming from our youth in this country. I think it's even gotten to the extent where even in football, the way we structure our team, the way we structure, our jersey and all of that, our team setup, you understand? You see, now from the conversation of invention, he has been able to structure a line that takes us back to football, and we can keep the conversation going like that till we end up talking about football. So he has been able to pioneer the conversation from just inventions in general to football. Then unconsciously we might even start talking about football with him. You understand? So that example I just gave is an example of creating a message connection. So if I'm talking about A and you want to talk about Z, you need to create a connection, something that will connect both lines so we can converse. But when you just jump into people and give new ideas of what they have to talk about, they just feel maybe this guy is not really okay, or maybe something is wrong, so they just want to ignore from that conversation. You understand? So you must learn to create message connection. Is very important. People want to talk to somebody that understand the sequence of what they want to talk about. This is why a lot of corporate organizations, they have agenda structure. So you don't just talk about things, you talk about things in sequence, in order. That's one of the ways to engage in a powerful conversation. So next point here is misconception while trying to sell yourself. This is a major problem. In fact, I can say this is a major Nigerian problem. When I go for events and I'm talking to someone, and the next thing you just jump in and start to sell yourself. I'm not interested. That's none of my business. So you understand? You just jump in and the next thing you're trying to sell yourself. I'm not interested. You understand? So most of the time, why this happens is at the point where you just jump into someone and you start selling, the person might not need what you are saying at that point in time. So how can you have a normal, smooth conversation at the same time you can sell without even letting the person know you are selling? So I tell people there's a better strategy to apply to do that. So you don't just jump into people and start selling. You understand? So I want to know you. One, I want to know what you do. Is two. Then I want to have a conversation with you. It's three, and there are three different things. So you don't just jump into people and say, oh, hi, my name is Tosin Ikuyinminu. I'm a social media strategist. I help companies. We do online campaigns for them. We do social media content marketing. We help them by building a solid reputation online for their business and all of that. And I'm like, it's not my business. I didn't send you, and all of that. So you have to be very cautious and you have to be very smart while doing that. Okay, so there are better strategies to do that. Like I said, there are better ways to do that. So one of the ways to do that I've identified is in my next slide, where I talked about strategies to apply. Strategies to apply. So one of the things I identified was, one, you must learn to create a conversational ladder that help that to your sales point. You must create a conversational ladder to your sales point. Now, I wish I had a picture here to give a brief explanation of how a ladder looks. So, but I think we all understand. The way a ladder looks is it takes you from one step to another, from one step to another, till it takes you to the exact height you want. It takes you from one step to another, till it takes you to the exact height you want to get to. So that's the way. If you bring that approach to a conversation, that's the way you can follow in sequence using my last point, message connection, and you get to the point where you identify your point where you have to sell. So you do that. When you do that, is an excellent way of also making or giving a sales pattern. So let me give a scenario so you understand what I'm saying. Now, for example, I meet with someone that I have a conversation with someone in a meeting, or I went for an event and I met with someone and we started talking. And the first thing I say is, oh, hello. And for example, my company, we are into t-shirt production, so we produce t-shirts. Now I want to sell to this person, and at the same time I want to have a normal conversation with the person. So how do I come in? So I come in with like, oh, hello, hi, my name is Tosin. I like your outfit, you're looking so great tonight. You're looking so amazing. And you hear the person say something like, thank you. And that's a conversation. So we started from what? Started from outfit. Now, when I move further a little bit, like, wow, your shirt is quite, it's quite nice. And I don't, who designed it for you? Or you hear him say something like, oh, I have a friend that's a designer, I know he did that for me. Or I have a fashion consultant, the person does all my clothing. Like, oh, wow, that's really great. And then you now move forward to like, oh, I really like this design, this innovative. Oh, really? Then you now dive into saying something that connects to your sales point. You are not selling, but you are trying to give in ideas. Like, my brand, we are currently trying to see how we can work on designs like this, that has this pattern, that has this. And the person was like, wow, interesting. Now you're getting to that sales point. You understand? So this design to be like, and at the end of the day, when you give too many ideas and you've gotten the person attention, and the next thing you hear is, what does your brand do? Then you'll be given the opportunity to sell. You see, that's a smart way. That's a smart way to sell without even disrupting anybody. So you are selling and you are having a normal smooth conversation, and they don't feel bad. You understand? So how did this happen? You moved from the ladder of talking about the person's outfit to the t-shirt, from the t-shirt to the design, from the design to talk about other designs. From there, the person just lands you on your sales point. At that point in time, the person has no choice but to ask you what you are into, and then you have the potential, or you have the opportunity to sell whatever you do. So that's the smart way to do so. You must learn, like I said, create a conversational ladder to your sales point, which was the scenario I just gave. Now, secondly, you must learn to give the other person the opportunity to sell themselves. No, I always tell people this is one of the most simplest strategy to apply. You understand? It's the most common. So if you can't do the conversational and ladder pattern, I tell people this is very simple. So what you do is, when you approach people and you want to sell, you don't want to talk too much stories. Just go straight ahead and ask them, what do you do? And they feel, wow, this person has given me the opportunity to sell myself. So when they start talking, there is 70% tendency that they will ask you back. They will reciprocate the question, what do you do too? So it's a win-win thing. So you sell, I sell. So that approach is very simple. So you don't want to stress yourself and talk too much story. So you just talk to the just approach the person. Oh, really? How are you doing? Oh, my name is Tosin. Tell me, what do you do? And when they talk, they feel you have given them the opportunity to express yourself. And most of the time, there's a high tendency that you get a response from them saying, what do you do too? So you sell. So you sell, I sell. So it's a win-win relationship. So this is very simple. I tell people most of the time to apply it. If you don't like too many stories, just apply this. You will always sell. So it's not like you are not disrupting anybody. You give them the opportunity to sell themselves, and you do that the same. You understand? So it's a win-win thing. Okay. And then lastly, the third strategy I will always advise you apply is make them talk more and listen to find your sales identification point. Now, in every conversation, there's always a sales identification point. What do I mean? There's always a point where you identify something that will make you sell. So the only way you can do that is when you give the other person the opportunity to express themselves very well, and you begin to see potholes, you begin to see flops, you begin to see areas where your product or your service can come in, then you sell. That is one of the smartest way, to do that. And for you to do that, you need to make them talk. So you need to be able to ask smart questions. So you make the conversation be about them. It shouldn't be about you. Just make the conversation be about them. So ask them questions like, oh, tell me about, what is one of your current project? What are you trying to work on? In doing so, it makes them feel special. People like to talk, even despite their personality could be introverted or extroverted. People like to talk. People love it when you give them the opportunity to talk. So when they talk, they feel more connected to you. So when you talk, you give them the opportunity to talk, you are really studying them. You are studying them vastly. I can study who you have from conversations. When I draw, I start asking you provoking questions, and you are expressing everything, expressing everything. I'm looking for a dynamic point to just come in and tell you, I think I have a solution to this. So while you're talking, I'm studying your conversation, I'm archiving the information, then I'll get to a point where that conversational point will now take me to a level where I think I've identified something I can leverage my sales on. So I'll now be like, oh, I get what you're saying. I think I have a solution to that. Then I now sell. And that's a smart way. So a lot of people don't apply that, but some people is one of the smart ways to do. So you might need to talk less and let the other person express themselves. So when they express themselves, you now identify which point to bring in your sales into. So it's one of the smart way. So before I wrap up, let me say this. I would like us to listen very smartly. Conversation is intuitive, like I always say. So you have to be very smart. Let me conclude with this. Nobody is really interested in you. They only become interested in you when they realize you are interested in them. I'll repeat myself again. Nobody is really interested in you. They only become interested in you when they realize you are always interested in them. And this principle works in a conversation. So if I want to give anything to you, if I want to offer you anything, I want to be sure if you're really interested in what I do. So one of the ways to be an influencer in conversation is forget about yourself. Just think about the other person. The moment you get to that level where they feel I can give this person all I have because he's really interested in me, in my person, then you get any result you want from a conversation. So you do that by listening, paying attention, 100% attention. Be smart in your conversation. Don't just jump into people and start to sell. It's many of the principles I have told you about, and I believe as we do this, I look forward to seeing us become an expert in our day-to-day conversation life, and people would love to talk to you, and people would always want to have a conversation with you. Okay, all right. So it's an awesome time with you guys. I really love the fact that we're learning a lot together. And I would love to see us next week, Monday. All right. Take care, guys.